And welcome everybody to this new webinar for the HelloID release of August. I would like to welcome you, and as normal we're going to discuss new features that we released last Monday with the August release. I will not go into features that were before that release, but of course sometimes we touch them if we want to explain the new features. If you want to follow these videos, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you will be notified when there's a new webinar, or of course also a product release video, or maybe a documentation video or things like that. So you will be keeping up to date with all the new stuff. As normal, if you have any questions, you can just ask them in the chat and I will try to respond on them as soon as possible. Just by discussing them or showing them something to show in the software how it works or something like that. So let's start. So we have a couple of new features in HelloID. And normally I'm using a voting system, but there aren't that big changes in HelloID, so I want to do this just like a normal presentation. I want to show you the changes for service automation first, and then I'm going to provisioning. So if I'm going to the admin portal, and I'm going to my delegated forms, I have a new option here. If I'm going to a form, you will see a option hide summary. And this means if you have a form that you're submitting and you press this button, you don't see a summary of all the details you filled in for the form. I can show you that. So let's start with this feature off. So let's go to the delegated form. So let's go to account create. And here's also a new other feature. So now if you have a drop down list and you select an item, previously you had to select another item, but now you can just remove that item so it's empty again. So in this case, it's normally if you selected one thing, it was required to select another thing, and you don't have the option to leave it empty if it's not required, that field or this drop down. Now you can just remove the item. So that's easier and better for use in practice. Let's create an ID account. Let's say the job title is test ICT. Account expires, doesn't. Let's choose a password or something. Oh, it will generate my naming convention. Next, and this is the summary page. So now you see the summary, and if I enable this option, you don't see this page. So you will directly submit based on this step. So it will automatically submit instead of going to the summary, which is a nice option. So don't forget, it's on if you are in the admin portal under the delegated forms, and here on the general story tab is the hide summary, where you can, and of course it's enabled, then it's hidden. Now it's not hidden. So those are the features for service automation. Of course, we did a lot of other stuff, also some security related stuff, but I'm not going to into details with that. You can see some in the release notes, I think, and of course sometimes we do not give the exact details if there is a security risk or something like that, but in this case it's no a brainer. So the next features are for provisioning. We have a couple of those there, and the first one we have, if we go to provisioning, is now if you go to a source and you go to primary contract, you have a change here in the screen, because now you can add more fields to determine the primary contract. So in the old version, those fields were only ones that you can select. You could change the order, of course, and you could say ascending or descending. But now you can use any other fields from a contract to determine the primary contract. And I also can use some custom fields, as you can see here. So if I search for custom, you'll see here I have 2 custom fields. I can use them as well. So that's really important, and also really important for the next feature we're going to have in, I think, the October release, where we have the automatic merging feature, where the main person is based on the primary contract. So with this, you have more options to determine how the primary contract is determined. Also a little tip or suggestion, what you also can do is create a custom field and put it in a contract and map it inside a system where you say, okay, this system is ordering is 1 and the other system is 2. So in the case you have a merging conflict, you will always have the contract of a primary system, something like that, as a higher primary contract instead of a secondary system. So with this you can play a lot around with the primary contract calculation. It's really useful. Another small thing we changed is when you're adjusting business rules like this, and there's another user that currently has the same business rule open and has changed something, you will get a notification that the business rules is about changed by somebody else, so you cannot publish this version, because then there are 2 different versions and we don't know which one to pick. So you will get a notification that you have to refresh the page or draw back your changes and do it again, and then publish them, because else somebody else will lose their changes, and it's quite difficult to manage them. And you will only see this message when you publish a business rule. So it's important to know that we have a kind of a system that you don't, if you're changing business rules with 2 people, it would still work, and you're not in conflict with 2 changes, 2 differences in business rules. And the other feature, which is a little bit bigger and more difficult to explain, is currently I have 2 external employee systems, System A and System B. So both systems are just sending 1 person, and I want to merge those. So I already did that. So if I go to person navigation and I see Tom Doe, you see that Tom Doe is merged with Tom Don't. So that means that the contracts of Tom Don't are existing in Tom Do. And so those are merged. And also if I look at my person and I only see Tom Doe because Tom Don't is merged in it, I will see also the contracts of Tom Don't. So you see this contract is merged. This was already available, of course, so it was possible to manual merge or with a suggestion. So this is merged. But in the previous version, what happened if the main person, and the main person in this case, as you can see here, is Tom Do, was removed from, in this case, the external employee system A. We didn't know what we had to do with this relationship. And what happened is that we see Tom Don't as a new person and just unmerged all the entitlements assigned to Tom Doe in this case, or maybe the merged person Tom Doe. And as you can see here, Tom Doe in this case has some entitlements. So it has some system and some memberships and things like that. It has a history of the person changes. So here you can see that if a contract is added, that's mostly because of the merge, of course, and the person was added in this case. And you also see that it has some audit logging of things that we assigned. Also an error here, something, but it has audit logging that something happened, something is entitled to him. Keep that in mind. So there is already information available on Tom Doe, which is a person that is merged with Tom Don't. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the person Tom Doe, which was from system A. So I'm doing this like a little a change, which is easier for me to make. And that this means that the Tom Don't will be removed from system A. So if I start an import, it's blocked, of course, because I have a threshold, which everybody should have, of course. And I'm going to approve my import. And you already see a change in my menu. You see a sign after aggregation here. And you also see here one person is removed. So in this case, it's Tom Do. And if I go to my aggregation, and besides my normal suggestion, I have a new icon here, a blue one with an arrow below it. And you also see that it's still Tom Do. And if I click on it, it says missing main person Tom Do. And but Tom Don't, which was merged in Tom Do, is still available as a person. And then you have two options. Or you unmerge, which means that you say, okay, I see Tom Don't as a completely new person. I don't anything to do with the merged person from Tom Do with the entitlements and the audit logging. Or you transfer the person. And in this case, you have to select which person is the main if there are multiple persons that weren't the main. But in this case, it's just one, so I can only select one. But it could be that these are 3 or 4 person records, of course. And if I'm transferring, that means that all the entitlements, the audit logging, the person history will all be assigned to Tom Don't. So let's do this. So let's say a transfer. I'm just running a snapshot. And now if I'm going to search for a Tom again, I see Tom Don't as a person, so I don't find Tom Do anymore. If I'm going to the contracts, of course, all the contracts of Tom Do are gone, because now I only have Tom Don't anymore. But if I go to the entitlements, you will see that I still have the entitlements that were assigned to the merged person Tom Do. And that means that those are transferred to this person. And also if I'm looking to the history, and you can also see that there's a transfer and a lot of contracts are removed. And of course the primary contract is recalculated because I think the primary contract was one of Tom Do. But you also have the whole history of the person. And I think this is normal behavior, the transfer, because you're merging multiple persons because it's a single person, or it should be a single person because it requires just one account. So that means I think you can better always do the transfer suggestion, or you really have some situation where you say, oh, I really want to merge them. Of course, if you have the automatic merging feature, then this will be done automatically based on the if you have just a single person left to become the main, or you have to choose or something like that. So there are some situations where it won't go automatically, but in most scenarios it will go automatically. Also, I mentioned that the audit logging is also available, so you can also see here it contains all the audit logging. When we do automatic merging, we're also going to do this when a new person is added that is becoming the main person. So if you have already a person with entitlements and a new person comes in and that person should be the main, we also give you the option to transfer all the entitlements and all the logging to that person. So you, let's say the person has already a Active Directory account assigned to it. It will not lose the connection with that Active Directory account. And if you want to do this now in the software, you will see that you have to manage for the other person and change the correlation ID in the Active Directory field with a new employee number or something like that. So that's not required when we have that new feature in October. But that's only in October and not yet. But the thing is, when we remove persons, then we're already have this step available where you can transfer all your entitlements to another person. Let me check if there are any questions. No, there aren't any. So let's continue. Another thing we added and changed are the reports. So we still have all the reports that we had before, but we changed the name a little bit to have a better understanding what it does and what it means. So don't be confused. We still have the same reports, maybe a couple of small changes to improve the performance or to have a better look at everything, but it's just a name that is changed mostly. We also have some new reports. I think in provisioning we have a new report with the target systems and also with the source systems, where you can also see the source import that I mentioned in the previous release. So you can see how long a import took and if it was successful and things like that. And it's longer than you see in the snapshots. And I think a very important one that was a lot requested is the email overview. And with this, currently it has a little error, but we will fix that. With this, you can see if a email message is sent from all the modules. So if an email is sent with service automation or provisioning or access management, you will see it here. With the exception of some access management emails like the login MFA email because of security. So we don't want you to see the ID of your activity code inside here. So we don't register that one. So also please be careful because you have a lot of places where you have control over the subject which you're sending. So don't put any privacy important things in the subject or maybe security important things in the subject, because it is registered now and you can see it in the report. Hopefully this helps a lot of customers looking into we see an issue, we don't see that an email sent, or the person says it doesn't receive an email. You can see it here if it's sent and if it's successful, yes or no. And also you can see this over time, how many emails you have sent and what are the subjects. And I can filter here on the false statement, so I can see here, this one wasn't successful. I can easily see why, because it's sent with no reply at toolserver.com, but toolserver.com isn't registered as a custom email domain at my tenant, so I know why it wasn't successful, and I fixed it. But I think this one is really important. Another little change we made is also on the admin dashboard. You only see the open incidents. It's currently open incidents. Because the view was a little bit confusing with the open and closed incidents, but we moved the incidents to the report. So now you have an incident overview screen where you can see all the open and closed incidents over time and what the category is. And you can easily see if it's open or closed, because a closed item always has a closed at date and the open will not have any. So you can easily see, okay, this is the open date and this is the closed item, but the closed item also has a open date. So you can easily see that how it's working and when it was open, yes or no. So those are also some improvements we have in the reporting. Let me check again if there are any questions. No, there aren't any questions. Then I would like to thank you. These were all the new features. Of course, in the next release, we will have some new exciting features as well. If you still have any questions, please contact us through or leaving a question in the comments, or go to your support department of your office. And don't forget to subscribe, of course, and hit the bell icon, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, so you never miss this webinar. Otherwise, you can also send new feature requests to feedback.helloid.com or see what's planned at roadmap.helloid.com. And you can also see if your feature is coming, yes or no. So thank you for your attention, and I will speak to you the next time.